So these are the things we talked about at the beginning, just a way of refreshing our memory. This box described what we did in our last class, HTML, the HTML basic structure, HTML, it has two parts, the head and the body. You can see what is inside the head and what is inside the body. That's a way of refreshing our memory. Then we talked about attributes. Attributes are what every element in HTML has, and that element um, can have an attribute, and the attributes are added to the start tag. The attributes are added to the start tag with a name and value pair. Okay, so the attributes are href, which can be added to the hyperlink tag, the source, which can be added to the image tag, the width and height, which can be added to also the image tag and other tags. Then auth, which can be added to the image tag, and then style, which can be added to anything so that to allow you to add color, font, and size, and all those things. Then language, which will help to specify the default language. If you don't specify this language in the HTML tag, you're saying, well, automatically saying it is English. Then you have the type. Then we also talked about formatting element, especially text. You can use this tag, bold, strong, important text, italics, and all that, subscript and superscript. So we talked about colors. There are 4 ways to add colors. By using color names, as you can see here, by using the color values. Color values can come in form of RGB values or RGBAs. It can come in form of hex. It can come in form of HSL or HSLA. Now, the difference between HSL and HSLA is in the alpha, the other value for opacity. Let me show. Okay, so RGBA, the first 2 colors, the first color that are there are red. So if I put RGBA 255, 255, 255, means red 256, green 256, blue 256. That is what is there. But if I add opacity to it, it will kind of add some level of transparency to the color. So these are some of the things you can do with the RGB. Then hex value, red, red, green, green, and blue, blue. So our hexadecimal value between 0 and F, same as between 0 and 255. So hexadecimal value between 0, 0 and FF. FF is the highest, 0, 0 is the lowest. So these are the values you use for it. Now, HSL is hue, saturation, and lightness. They still follow the same pattern, but the values, the numbers that I use are from 0 to 360. So the hue is a degree on the color wheel from 0 to 360. 0 is red, 120 is green, 240 is blue. So these are some of the things. Then the lightness is also a percentage value. 0 is black, 100% is white. Saturation is a percentage value. 0 means a shade of gray, and 100 is a full color. So see, these are some of the things that you can look at and use in the practice. So we said that today, which is the day 2, we are going to be working on HTML tables, semantic elements, and creating interactive forms or creating forms to start with. So we started by creating this table. So if I want to create table, this is the first thing that I do. I type table, table, and table. Opening, that's start tag, and then the close, the end tag. Then I open it up and I add table row. I add another table row because I want to make it 4 tables. I add another table row. I add another table row. So row tables are divided into rows and columns. So let me put a comment. Tables are divided into rows and columns. Let me increase my screen. Divided into rows and columns. Now, if tables are divided into rows and columns, how do you start? You start by putting the bigger frame that this is going to be a table. Then you put the rows. This is a table row. And then inside the table row, you put a column. The column can start in form of header. So we have table head, TD, and you're going to have, sorry, TD, not HD, TD. You have table head as TD. So we can say serial number. Maybe you want to create something where we are going to put all the people. If I finish this place, I'm going to test it so that you see. So we have name, then you can say match number. So this is going to be the header. You know, we already have our page open before now. So let's go and check it out. This is our page, so I'll just refresh it so that the one of yesterday will go out. But before I refresh it, now I showed you people that you can inspect your page and make changes even at this point by clicking and say edit as text or edit as HTML. If you want to edit as HTML, I will just come here. Say this is my new header. So I say this is my new header. You click on it, it will show. But once I refresh it, the new content of that page will be what will come in. So I'm going to refresh it now. If I refresh it, what we have is serial number, name, and match number. That is the table head. So let's go back to then on another row, I will now start adding the other things. For instance, table data. Now it's no longer this first one is supposed to be table head, table head, table head, table head. So let's go back again and check. Table head, table head, table head. Okay, you see that it's a bit boring. So then let's add table data, serial number 1. The name is I think there's somebody here that the name is Joanna. Okay, so let's use Joanna's name. Okay, so what's Joanna's map number? 2023. I mean 2024. I think people smart number is 2023. Then we add whatever is there. So we have succeeded in creating a table with two rows, four rows, but two rows are empty. We have used one of the rows. Are you seeing it now? So as you add things, the table is going to be formed, and later you can decide to beautify it. You can add another table data. So this time around, the serial number will be 2. The name can be Susan. Then Susan's number will be like this. We add the third one. Okay. So you have 3 numbers that have been added already. Any questions so far? If you have any question, please ask. If you have any question, please ask. Let me know the people that are raising their hand. Okay, Davis, please go ahead and ask your question. Davis, ask question. If there is no question, you can Davis. That's the name I'm seeing here. Davis, do you have a question?
No, sir. No, sir.
Okay. If there's no question, then we'll continue. Now, you can add a border to the table to make it look very neat, but we can't do that here now, just straight like that, without involving CSS to it, without adding CSS. So when we start talking about CSS, we are going to talk about the table, the style of the table, and all that. So that's why we need to finish this elementary part and also bring in those ones. So the next thing that we're going to do, this is a very a small table. There are many things we can do to this table to make it come alive. There are many things you can do to the table to make it come alive. But basically, this is how to create a table. There are many things we can do, but this is how to create a table. And when it comes to CSS, we're going to choose the different kinds of table, whether it is a doctored table, whether you want to add color to the table, whether you want to make it stripe, different kinds of table. Okay. So what else do we have in our curriculum? If we go back to our text, we say we're going to talk about semantics, HTML5 semantic element. There are so many things you can do in HTML. And those things that you can do in HTML, because people have been doing it over and over and over and over again, people have decided. So, like if you watch some videos, you'll see something like this. Let me give you an example. If you watch some videos, you see something like this. I'm going to clean this up. If you watch some videos, you'll see something like this. Or if you look at some HTML code, you'll see something like V, ID. Okay, let me just close this one first. V. Then the come inside, you say ID, which is an attribute equal to now. I start creating now. I start creating. I say list. Sorry. and order this, and then you start doing this. Home, about, contact. When you do something like this, I go and view it. I've not linked it. And go and view, you have something like this. So when you add a link, and you need to go to CSS and be styling it and learn how to remove all these things. So the builders of HTML came to a point in HTML5 when the version 5 of HTML5, and they decided to say these things, people use them every time. People use these things every time. Why don't we create something that, since people use some of these things, why do we allow them to stress themselves to do those things? Why don't we create something that people can just use, that we turn all these things and make it what they will use it for? So they created things like, let me just list them here. They created things like article, They created things like aside, nav, section. So if you have ever used all these things, know that it is, then they also have header, very important, they have footer. These are some of the most popular ones. We have almost about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, almost about 15 of this HTML semantic element. We have almost about 15 of them. So, but these are some of the popular ones, especially when it comes to the structure of your page. So before we go to forms, we are going to use this semantic element to create a simple web page. A simple web page. We are going to use some of these semantic elements to create a simple web page. And then try to put some of the things that we have done inside that simple web page that was created. If you are with me, say I am with you. Okay, so people are not with me because nobody said something.
Oh, it's you, sir. We are with you,
We
sir.
are with you, we are with you, sir. We are with you, sir.
That person's voice is sounding like Peter's voice. Peter, are you here? Is Davis. Okay. So let's continue. Now, if we use the use of those, I will still teach you how to use those divs and all those things. But the use of this semantic element makes your work easier, makes the coding, the arrangement of the page, it eases it, makes it a bit easier. And so that is what we are going to work on. So we'll go back to our index page. I'm going to push everything down so that we start afresh. Now, the first thing I'm going to do inside this body of this index page, there are so many ways to create your page. There are so many patterns to follow, but this one is just a simple one that you can follow. There are some that will have a general wrapper, a general div. So depending on the kind of website you want to build, you plan your website, you plan the interface, you plan your design and do everything so that when you want to build it, you will not be building and be planning at the same time. So take your time. If you plan well, the coding and the building of the interface will be very, very easy for you. So, but for now, for practice sake, we'll do one of the first things we are going to do is to do header. This is the way I like to do it, header. So after header, we can have header, then we have now. After now, we can have main. Inside main, this is the way I like to do it. It's not compulsory that you must put everything inside here. Inside main, I will have a section. I'll have a section. Inside main, I will have article. Inside main, I'll have outside. So let's see how this will come out. Then under I have. So let us assume we have things inside them. The idea is to see how they are going to display. Okay, header is let's say to represent that, and before we fill in some other stuff, section is S, article is A, aside let's say S, footer is F. So with this, we have succeeded in building. Let me remove this. With this, we have succeeded in building out the structure of how we want our HTML page to look like. So I'm going to do this. Okay. So this is what you're going to see. It doesn't look sweet. It doesn't look very nice. So what do we do to add one or two stuff? Without CSS, what you have done may not make any meaning. Without CSS, what we have done will not make any meaning. So this is the structure of the what we have done. But I think what I will do now is to bring in some things. Let's work on the now. Let's start from there. Maybe let's fill in some things. So this is why sometimes I like the header to be under the nav, depending on the kind of design you want to do. I like the header to be under the nav. Maybe I'll tell you my reason. So inside the nav, we can just create links. See what it will take you almost forever to do. You can just create links from about contact. So listen it from about contact. So let's add something. If you were going to use the other pattern before in this place, you're going to need CSS to even make it straight that way. You're going to need CSS to do that. But you see the power of using the semantic element. So if I add href, which is the attribute for adding URL, let us assume it's being linked to the page itself. So when you use hash as a value, means you're saying this page is being linked to the page itself. When I do that, they will change to blue and show you that they are links. So when you click on one of them, the color changes. It's okay. So we are making progress. So that is enough. Why I prefer to put the header down is because I like to add pictures to that place. I like to add picture. And you remember we had a picture yesterday. So let me use that photo picture as our header picture. So inside the header, I want to do an image. So the source of that image is img. Remember what we did yesterday? Okay. Go back again. Refresh. See that the skeleton is coming up little by little. So let's add something to our side. Let me just get some. Let me just get some Lauren. Let me just copy this and put in the section. And let me get part of it. Put it in the aside. And put the other part. Okay. So you see that when you put things inside, you see the effects of those things. So in the footer, and now okay. And then we talked about attributes. We talked about attributes. So I can, this place now, I can add a style attribute, even though it's not yet time for CSS. Add a color and choose. If I want to go by name, choose the blue color. When you use color, you're talking about style. You are talking about text. When you say background color, you're talking about the background. The background color that is blue means fight with my text. So I'm going to use the background color that is pink. So, but these are things that you should have planned before coming for this. So the normal thing is that our side will be by this side. Our side will be by this side, article will be. So depending on what you want, use the semantic element. Okay, let's do the same thing for all these guys. So these are some of the things we were talking about. So please, when you copy, make sure you know what you're copying so that you will not make mistake. Because if you don't look at it very well, you make a mistake. So you can see that each of them you have, so as it is, we are making progress. We have our now. One more thing I want us to add. There's something I want us to add to this thing to make it very sweet. Okay. So, but for us to add that stuff, for us to add that thing, we need to go back to our folder. I want to teach you something called favicon. We need to go back to our folder and duplicate this image. Duplicate this image. And then reduce the size of this image. Going to reduce the size of the image. We are going to edit photos. Somebody may ask, is this the only way to reduce the size of the image? Is this the best way? No. So I'm just improvising because this is what we can make use of now. It's not even giving us an option to edit image. There's a need for us to reduce the size. Okay. So if I can't get that, then let me just get any image that I can lay my hands on. I know how to go about it now. I'll open it in photos, and then okay, it's giving me option to edit now. Okay, so we are back to where we were. Okay, so let me use a smaller picture. So I'm going to, because what I want to do requires a small picture. So I'm going to get a picture on my screen. I go to my pictures. I go to my pictures in screenshots. I'll just locate picture I just collected. So this is the picture I just collected. I'll go back to series folder, inside image. Remember, I need a very small image. That's right. So find a way. So I'm going to rename this as, I'm going to rename this as FAV, favicon. So what I want to do is what is called favicon. Now, if you come here, you look at this place, you see that it's showing the sign of the web. But look at this place. This is W3 school. It's showing W. This is another, this Lauren is showing a logo here. So how do we achieve adding a logo to this place? We do what we call adding a favicon. And to add a favicon, you do that at the head. Remember, whatever you are doing at the head is happening at this point. So to add a favicon, you do that at the head. And that's what we're going to add. This is how to add a favicon. First, you start with the link. Then inside the link, you have your rel attribute, and you call it icon. Then you have type. A type attribute is image slash X icon. Then your href is in images, then path.png. Now, when you are able to do this, and you come back and refresh, you can see that it is showing now. So that is how to add that. That's how to add the favicon. Any question? Okay. So if there is no question, we move on with other stuff that we have today. So, let's talk about forms. Let's talk about HTML forms. You start a form with the form tag. Start a form with the form tag and close. You can form opening tag and close it. So let's do a form inside one of these guys, inside aside. So this is how you create a form. So can you create the form without putting it inside article? Yes. Or inside aside? Yes. The form can be in anywhere. It can stand on its own. It can be inside anywhere, depending on where you want it to be. So that's the first thing that you are supposed to do inside a form, or when you want to create a form. Then the next thing is input. We have different types of input in a form. I'm going to try to do all of them as much as I can. We have different types of input. We have the text input, which goes like this. Input, type, attribute, then text. We also have the one that is we also have the one that is how do I put it now? So we also have the one that is okay. Let's start with radio. Type radio. This is the radio button. Another input. Type We have the checkbox. Another input. We have the submit. All these are types of input. Have type button. So let's check what we have been able to achieve here. So you see, allows you to type something. This one is a radio button. This one is a check button. This one is submit. This one is button. But in the button on, you have to add something. You have to add a text to it. You have to add a text to it. You have to add a text to the button. So, but for now, let me change the form to a proper form. And if you are doing that, you're going to add things like label. So I'm going to remove the button, and maybe I'll leave the submit and maybe add one other thing, one or two other stuff to it. So let's continue. So I'll just make some changes here. I will get another text here. I'll remove this. Let's try to make it a proper form. Then I'll add label here. Label is another attribute in form. So label is another element in form, and it has the attribute for can say first name, or name, and I put anything. I put report. Is a good way of creating a form. So we are doing it for learning purposes. And then label for serial number, max number, max number. The break tag. You have to go with one. Let's remove this. Okay. So if you expect this, you see that we have a form. Student name, Abraham, the max number. Yes. So the rest of the things we are going to be doing is how to beautify this. Apart from how to beautify it, we're also going to look at how we can make it interactive. So when I click on this button, it tell me no, math number is not supposed to have 1, 2. It's not supposed to have I and U inside. And this math number is wrong. So that is the remaining things we are going to do for the remaining 8 days. So beautify this, which is CSS, make it interactive with the JavaScript. Any question? Any question? Any question? There are so many other things you can add to this, just like I added. You can have many other attributes like ID, and also have name. Okay. So because this name is a keyword, please avoid it. So I say student name, S name, or just student name, student name. So that solves our problem. So we now have here this first name. Okay. So you can do the same placeholder. There's another attribute for stop placeholder and say enter student. So you see all these things are done. You can see the placeholder enter student. I want question, please. If you have a question, please ask me. If you have a question, please ask me. Okay, so let's divert a little. If you don't have a question, how many of you did something on GitHub pages? How many of you took time to look at it? GitHub pages. You know you took time to look at it. Just raise your hand. We'll give you the floor to talk to us. So nobody looked at GitHub pages this class. I actually became Okoro into blessing. You do not look at GitHub pages. Are you sure people are ready for this class at all? Okay. These people do not look at it. Let's introduce. Okay, Susan, you are raising your hand now. Okay, tell us what you got from GitHub pages. You can unmute yourself and talk. You have something to show us on the screen. No,
I'm not using my phone to join the meeting. So my laptop is not with me.
okay.
GitHub page.
Just talk to us. What you learned about GitHub pages?
Yes, sir. GitHub page is it's like a resource that the GitHub people provided, so people can deploy their static website.
Yeah.
So you have to make your index.html visible first. After adding the files, committing to GitHub, pushing to your GitHub account, then you make sure that the index.html file is visible. Then you go to GitHub page, and then you can get your own domain, so that other people can also view your website, not just you.
Okay. So it's majorly for static website. So please, if you have not done it before, please go back and learn how to do it. We're not going to teach that in class. Go back and learn how to do it. And maybe next time, Susan, after I am done with class, to give you an opportunity when you are using your laptop. You now practice it with what you have created. You practice it and you do it. After next class, because by that time you would have introduced CSS, I'll not give you people an assignment that is going to make your work easier. Now, I'm just going to introduce CSS now. If we come in our next class, we will now talk about it. Unless there's a question. If there's, I'll wait for a question. If there's no question, we go straight to CSS. Okay. CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheet. Cascading CSS. It's equal to cascading style. Cascading style sheet. It can control the layer of multiple web pages, depending on what you want to use it for. But I usually tell people that while HTML is the block in the building of the house, CSS is both the plastering, the painting, and what have you. Then JavaScript is now the furniture. It's now the furniture and the other things you are putting in the house to make it function, to make it look good. Then we will now talk about the other aspect. The description can end in that place, but just try to picture how a house that's beautiful, by a house that is not beautiful now suddenly become beautiful because it has been painted, it has been decorated, and all that. So we can add CSS to our work in 3 ways. We do it inline, internal, external. Inline, internal, and external. So we're going to do the part of, we have done inline, like you see what I did here. This is inline CSS. This is inline CSS. Inline means you're doing it in that's inside the HTML, doing it together at inside the HTML element. That is what inline means. But internal means you're doing it at the head, inside the HTML. This one now is not inside the HTML element, but inside the HTML tag, and inside the HTML document. And you do that at the head by putting style and closing it with style. So this same thing that I achieved here, I can also achieve it here by saying that, by referring to the tag and say now. I want the background color of now to be pink. So this is our page. If I refresh it, nothing has changed. So instead of putting it here, instead of putting it here, which is inline, I can decide to do it internal. So this is the simple way of adding CSS. I can also decide to say, no, I don't want to do it like this. I want it to be in a particular file, and then I'll start adding files to it. So I want us to do the video and the lecture of CSS differently, but this is just a way of introducing you to CSS. And if we are doing external, we'll have to add a link. So any question? I'm sure we have exhausted or we have tried to touch all the areas where we are supposed to do one thing or the other. You now have to create forms today. Assuming we are going to process the form, there are many other things that you add to this case. You add something like a method, whether it is a post or a get, and that's one will be here. You add many other things, but this is one of the most popular things, one of the most important things you add to a form as one of the attributes of a form. So for today, we end our lecture here. So there's no specific assignment that will be given, except go and study how to put your pages on GitHub pages. Thank you very much. Any question? Any question?
No, sir.
Okay. So if there's no question, we'll call it today. See you guys tomorrow.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.